Morning, everybody. Just getting set up here. Live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Instagram. Comments are good there. I have notes, episode 329 notes. Oh, I got the wrong date on my notes. That'll confuse me. I think we're good. Are we all systems go? Do you want to do a show? Everybody ready? Look at people just piling in here. All right, everybody, welcome. February 11th, episode 329. Mornings with Scott, the best damn business show for medium and small businesses on the planet. Markets are down this morning. Everything's down. Bitcoin is down. Tesla continues to get hammered. This is like 10 days in a row. It's down 12% in the last 5 trading days. It was $342 a share as I was logging in here from a high of $438 in mid-January. Is that politics or is it reality? Thank you for checking in, Ashley, on LinkedIn. Politics or reality? Well, Tesla's getting crushed in China for sure. There's no doubt about that, as is every high-end manufacturer. Certainly some that I've been involved with supplying parts to, Aston Martin and the like. So that's not good. That's not good. But I think in the case of Tesla, this is mostly politics. Speaking of Elon Musk, speaking of politics, speaking of Trump, you know, the U.S. stopped producing. There was an executive order to stop producing pennies. The good old penny. Do you Canadians remember a penny? Do you remember those little brown things? You've got a tub of them in the back of your cupboard. I know for sure Ashley must have those somewhere. And everybody else that's listening in. So they're no longer producing pennies in the U.S. Why? Because a coin, a 1 cent coin, actually costs them 2 and 2.5 cents to produce. So it costs more to manufacture than it's worth. So they're going to stop doing it. Canada stopped making pennies like a long time ago, a decade ago. I don't know how long. But liberal activists on the other side of this are jumping with joy that Trump and Musk are finally penniless. Yeah, I did that myself. Well, people are coming in. All right, I'm not talking about tariffs today. Tariffs are too boring. I just can't do it every single day. Wall Street Journal reports an Elon Musk-led group makes a $97.4 billion bid for control of OpenAI. A consortium of investors led by Musk is offering $97.4 billion to buy the not-profit. Is that the most highly valued not-for-profit company organization on the face of the earth ever in history? It's got to be, right? This whole not-for-profit thing is such a joke, although that was the original intention of it. The not-for-profit that controls OpenAI, this is ChatGPT, for those of you that don't follow along with that, upping the stakes in this battle with Sam Altman. Sam Altman is one of the founders. I mean, Musk was a founder, but Sam Altman is the current CEO and control shareholder, I believe, of ChatGPT. So the bid, just for some context here, $97.4 billion is way below the recent valuation of $157 billion based on the few $billion that OpenAI raised in an equity offering, and it was at this $157 billion valuation. People wrote a check for that, and so that's the most recent valuation. But since then, you've had these super cheap Chinese and effective Chinese model come out. I mean, does that drive the valuation down? Well, not according to Sam Altman. Sam Altman thinks that OpenAI is now worth $300 billion, just $300 billion. He's like Dr. Evil. He's just making up numbers. He has no context to what they are. That's what it seems to me. You know, there is a way to value high growth companies. You don't have to just make it up. And so I have no idea where this 300 billion comes to, but I can tell you this. There's a link in the site to the Scott Sinclair store where the business course is. You can skip the business course if you want for today. And you can go straight to, there's a products tab there. And what you'll see in there is I did a video on the theory of business valuation. And if you're a founder, if you're a high-tech person, you're into high growth, just understand what value is. Value is not some multiple of revenue. It's not in the cannabis industry back in the day, it was It was funded capacity. I've got a greenhouse. And that's 800,000 square feet, but don't value me based on my 800,000 square feet greenhouse. Value me on the fact that I might build another 600,000 square feet on top of that. Then it'd be 1.4 million square feet, and that's my funded capacity. And you should value. It's not based on that. That's not what value is. Value is the future cash that you can put in your pocket as an owner after tax, discounted for risk and discounted for time. That's what value is. I don't know where Sam gets this 300 billion, but I do love his cheekiness and his sense of humor, because after Musk and his team bid 97.4 billion for OpenAI, Sam Altman rejected the offer, but countered with 9.74 billion for X. I love, those of you that listen to the show know that I love billionaire battles. They're very fun. Why not? Back to the Wall Street Journal. Musk's attorney, who cares, submitted the bid to the OpenAI board of directors Monday. The unsolicited offer adds a major complication to Altman's carefully laid plans for OpenAI's future, including converting it to a for-profit company, spending up to $500 billion on AI infrastructure through a joint venture called Stargate. So what he's doing is he's got this not-for-profit, and he created a for-profit underneath that, just a normal corporation. Microsoft is a shareholder. Other people are shareholders at this massive valuation, and he's converting the whole thing to a for-profit company. And if you listen to the All In podcast guys, the high-tech billionaires, they were complaining about this, I don't remember, 4-6 months ago, and how it should be illegal because it gives the not-for-profit gives you a sheltering of tax in the short term while you grow your value, so you don't really have to pay the same amount of tax as your competitors, and then you just magically flip into this for-profit company, and they saw that as sidestepping corporate governance, taxation regimes, etc. I don't know. I haven't spent enough time digging into it. It should be. I should do that. That could be interesting. There's probably lessons for us in that. It's time for OpenAI to return to the open source, safety focused force for good that it once was, Musk said in a statement. We will make sure that happens. One of the thorniest questions of the conversation, according to the Wall Street Journal, has been how the nonprofit will be valued. Musk's bid sets a high bar and may mean that he or whoever runs the nonprofit would end up with a large and possibly controlling stake in the new OpenAI. The bid is being backed by Musk's own artificial intelligence company, xAI. So remember, when Musk bought Twitter, he renamed it X, and he paid whatever. I didn't go back and look at the number. Was it 47 billion? You can remind me in the comments if you want to do that. I feel like it was definitely 40 something billion. And then out of whole cloth, because I was discussing this with experts at the time, I talked to you on the show about this, that one of the beauties of X from Musk's perspective is that he's capturing real-time conversation around the world that can be used for training models for artificial intelligence. And so he creates xAI, and he's raising money, xAI, at a $50 billion valuation, which is more than what he paid for Twitter, which basically makes the Twitter X deal free. It's just a gimme on top of that. And by the way, it was published the other day that X is making money. It's doing quite well. Thank you. Musk may be the best turnaround guy in the universe for larger businesses. And I'm a turnaround guy, so I can appreciate that most certainly. Anyways, his bid is being backed by real people: Valor Equity Partners, Baron Capital, Atradius Management, V Capital, 8VC, venture firm led by Palantir, Ari Emanuel, CEO of Hollywood company Endeavor, is also backing the offer through his investment fund. So there's legit people. People say, well, this is just for attention, but there's legit funds that have backed up this offer, and there's real money behind it. So I don't know. This will be interesting. Musk has filed a series of legal complaints against OpenAI, accusing them of betraying its original nonprofit mission by creating a for-profit arm, including with his largest investor, Microsoft, to dominate the development of AI. So here's what I think people are missing about that story. Musk is on Doge. He's the guy that's cutting government waste and expense. He is leading the largest turnaround in the history of turnarounds with the US government, which is kind of fun to pay attention to, no matter whether you think it's legit or not. Is definitely interesting to pay attention to. Well, Musk is in the White House every single day. He's just hanging out there with Trump, with the Doge committee, and by the way, with David Sachs, who is the new AI czar for Trump. David Sachs is one of the guys on the All In podcast. David Sachs is best buds with Elon Musk, and there they are working together, coming up with regulation for artificial intelligence while Musk owns XAI and is making a bid for OpenAI, ChatGPT, probably the most dominant AI platform in the world. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just assuming that's the case. You can correct me in the comments if you want to. Musk definitely has influence over the regulation. How will that impact the bid? Is this serious? Will he win? Will he lose? You know, it's common knowledge out of the security state in the US, if you read up on this in artificial intelligence, that there won't be a diversified, segregated, is that the right word? Anyways, a number of small companies in AI. It will all be consolidated, fragmented. That was the word I was looking for. It will all be consolidated for security purposes because the CIA, the deep state, the security apparatus needs to have influence on what's going on in artificial intelligence. They can't just let this free and loose. That's their view of it. And so therefore, they flat out come out and said, hey, you tech people, you can't just start artificial intelligence companies and expect to survive. There's only going to be a handful. That's all we're going to permit. And so is XAI one of those? It's very interesting. I think there's more to this story in politics than we know, and we need to keep an eye on it. Hey, what do you do? What do you do if you're in a negotiation? If you're looking at your strategic plan, like let's say Musk is looking at XAI and wondering if that business is going to survive the AI shakeout, the bursting of the bubble, the security consolidation and getting their arms around everything. What do you do when you're stuck, just a lose-lose situation? You're stuck in a problem, you can't get out. You're stuck in a relationship, you don't know what to do about it. You're stuck in a negotiation. Everything you seem to do is lose-lose. You have no options, no winning options. What do you do? Well, one thing you should always be thinking about is to exit the frame. We talk about that a lot on this show. Just exit the frame. On the link in the notes, there's a Pathway to Profit Academy, the best damn value for money business course available anywhere for medium and small businesses. It's going to teach you for very little money that you should invest in yourself. I mean, hundreds of dollars. That's it. You're going to get 8 modules of the best business content you can probably get anywhere that's actionable and academic all at the same time. So if you haven't gone to business school and if you feel like you're struggling with some things, you're going to get actionable items to improve your business, basically all geared to raise money and earn more profit. Well, module 1 is about embracing change. Well, what does that mean in respect to sort of exiting the frame? But the idea of module 1 is that we all run our business as leaders with confirmation bias. And the confirmation bias specifically, I believe, is, hey, I'm a decent leader. I'm a decent business person. I'm at least of average intelligence. I can at least be as smart as the next guy or gal. I work hard enough. I work at least an average amount of time. I'm at least of average creativity and all integrity and all the things that matter. And therefore, I'm doing what I can do. And nobody else could do any better. And we see this in the turnaround business. We see this frame all the time. Nobody ever admits that they're in trouble and embraces change. What they do is the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. And we all know what that is. Well, how do you break free? How do you break free from that? So we talk about this problem in module 1 of that Pathway to Profit Academy, and there's a bunch of strategies to break free. And the essence of it is manage your business through objective measures, which we talk about in there, specifically key performance indicators. And then you can track. It's not your judgment. It's not how you feel. It's just math. This is going well. This is not going well. And that triggers you to break through that, confirmation bias and the cognitive dissonance, that mental filter, and allows you to start making change. We talked about in that module, we talked about bringing in other people to give you a diverse point of view. The board of advisors that you might bring together, they all have their own mental filters, their own framing of the situation. Remember, I'm coming back to exiting the frame. They all have their own framing of the situation, their own mental filter, but it's a different one than what you have. And so if you start pulling together a board of advisors, you get different mental filters, different frames, and maybe you can cut through the blockage that you have in a particular situation by doing that. Another way to do that would be using a coach. Very little money, call up a coach, a business coach, to say, hey, coach, here's the problem I'm dealing, here's what I think about it. And I guarantee you 100% of the time, the coach is going to say, you're missing this, you're making up excuses. Why? Because you're stuck in a mental filter. That's what you are. You're stuck in your confirmation bias. You think you're doing everything right. And one of the consequences of confirmation bias, by the way, is it creates what's called information blindness. You literally cannot see what's going wrong. You just can't see it. And that's not a flaw. This is the way the humans are built. I've done it myself. I spent a year ignoring all the signals on a troubled situation through information blindness. And it happens to all of us. But you can remedy that. What if for a few $100s, you can have a serious session with a world-class coach who's going to tell you, hey, gal, hey, guy, you're doing this wrong. Think about this. Put this into action. A board of advisors, objective measures, coaching. By the way, on the coaching, you can look in the link in the notes. And I talked about this yesterday. We have a new site up for that. Click through to that Discuss Sinclair Shopify store, whatever that link is that you will see in the notes. Go to the coaching tab, which a lot of people did yesterday. And you will see that I'm available as a coach. Craig Boyer is available as a coach. Len Walker is available as a coach. You're not going to find this level of expertise really anywhere. Craig Boyer will talk to you about raising capital, business planning, turnarounds, growth, how to manage your business and raise money. Len Walker will talk to you about strategic growth, business development, CEO coaching. You know who I am, and so you can look. But just flip through that site, and there's going to be stuff there that you like. There's even a secret free product for you on the products page, and you can go check that out. But the point of all this is to exit the frame. That's the theme here. And that's what you need to do in a losing situation. When you find things that are not working in your life, in a sale, in a negotiation, you need to think about just how do I, what they say in the persuasion game, shake the box. Shake the box. Just come up with a new deck of cards, right? Look at Trump, who's an expert at this. Look at Trump and look at, say, the Gaza situation. Forever, since I've been alive, and long before that, there's been no peace. It's just been constant violence. The life of the people that live in Gaza has gone downhill. It's horrible. And forever, there has been no peace, just violence and terrorist activity and all that sort of stuff. I'm not taking a political position or a moral, cultural position on which side is right. I have friends on both sides, and I hear that back and forth. So what does Trump do? He looks at this situation, and whether you think it's crazy or legal or moral, what does he do? He says, well, this isn't working, so the U.S. is just going to take this over, and I'm going to develop it. I'm going to own it. I'm going to turn it into the Middle Eastern Riviera. Now, again, you might not like that. Maybe nobody likes that. But I would suggest to you that's probably the point. What he's doing is shaking the box, exiting the frame of the two-state solution frame whatever it is that you think ought to be the solution. He's exited that frame. He's changed the conversation. And what has happened? What's happened? Egypt stepping up. Saudi Arabia is stepping up. Everybody's freaking out that, no, we don't want that. We don't want the Middle Eastern Riviera. How about we take some of these people and shelter them and give them good homes and a better life, and maybe we'll try to work to secure that spot. Exit the frame. Let me give you another example. In my local community here of Fernie, British Columbia, we've had some parking lot drama. I know this is a global show and we have people listening from all over the world, and nobody cares about the local parking lot drama in my hometown, but it's an interesting way to think about this frame issue. And so just bear with me on the story. Imagine that you're part of the story. So we have in this little town of 4,000 city of 4,000, 4,500 people, whatever it is, grows up to like 10,000 people in the winter because it's a ski town. And we have this one little downtown parking lot that is gravel, a mud hole in the spring and fall, and covered in snow because the city can't keep up with the snow removal demands in the winter. And so it's usable some of the time. It's extraordinarily dangerous a lot of the time in the winter. It's partly usable because of the mud and the snow. And it's a real problem. It's a real problem for the city. And at the same time, the city had to shut down its one and only community center that is this in town. And because for decades it was mismanaged, it's got asbestos, I believe, was part of the issue. And so it basically got condemned. And so there's no community space or limited community space for associations. Like I sit on boards of local associations and well, a board at the moment, but I've been on multiple boards before. And so you can't find space to hold your community events, and it's very, very difficult situation. And so there's a proposal, and there has been for a decade in front of city council, that a private, not really private, there's a word for this, it's sort of semi-private, let's just go with that, school that's sort of right next door has proposed that they build a building at their own cost on top of this parking lot, and that the parking lot remains as is for everybody. And on top of that, there'd be community space that the kids from that school would use as a gym during school hours, and the rest of the time would be totally available to use as a community center. And then there'd be a rooftop with some whatever on top. It doesn't really matter. And the parking itself would be kept by the city, because originally the city got this lot as a donation from a local business person, and as a generous gift, and it said, hey, you have to always use this as parking. So it stays as parking, but it becomes covered, it becomes lit, it becomes heated and safe, right? So it's a modernization while respecting that gift at the same time. Well, the community has freaked out. The community has freaked out because the people that control that school that proposed this are like the Hatfields, and the people that donated the lot in this little city are like the McCoys, and it's just got nothing to do with the community and everything to do with emotion and crap and the framing. This is, remember, I'm coming around to framing. You got to exit the frame. And so the framing is these spoiled, rotten, rich people kids do not need a gym. Piss off, go somewhere else. That's basically the argument against this proposal. And it's really disturbing, the comments that you get on Facebook and other platforms with people that look in. It's a lose-lose situation. Like, how do you argue against that? If you're trying to persuade a community and a city council to accept this parking lot, and the framing in opposition is it's a bunch of rich kids, and why? And it's about a gym. How do you fight against that? You say, well, these kids deserve gyms, right? This gym should, and then the argument is, well, it can't be right downtown. There's just no way to win in that frame that it's about a gym and it's about rich kids. And so what do you need to do? You need to exit the frame. You're in a lose-lose. Well, what is that? What is that? The new frame is, it's not about a gym. That's a dumb conversation. It's about free community space. We don't have a community center in this city. we can't afford a community center. The city's way underwater on its budget. It doesn't have any plans that are real and funded to go build a community center. And here, for no taxpayer money whatsoever, you get parking that you originally had. It's safer. It's well lit. You get community center space, and you get it all for free. That is the frame. You need to see how you change the frame away from a gym and rich kids into this is just a freebie. It's free money for the city. Why the hell would we not be accepting that? It is outright negligence to not accept that. And with respect to the parking lot and the gift to the city, the current parking lot that's covered in snow, ice, and is dangerous for everybody. Here's a framing question. Where do you see, city residents of Fernie, where do you see this parking lot 100 years from now? What's your vision for this city decades from now, 30 years from now? What is this parking lot? For the rest of our lives, does this piece of property have to stay exactly the same forever without ever being improved? Change the frame. Change the frame. There's an example of that I'm using, and I think it's starting to work. We shall see. Globe and Mail reports lender wants to put Toronto's Mocambo into receivership over defaulted loans. Mocambo, look at, if you're from the city of Toronto, which I have been, this is like a really old, famous concert hall, basically, venue spot. Let's put it that way. Back in the day, it's had the Stones and Pink Floyd. It's right downtown. It's not an arena. It was a rock and roll concert place that you could go to. Well, financial lender is seeking to put it into receivership, telling an Ontario court that the owner and former Dragon's Den star Michael Wekerle has failed to pay $55.6 million through companies he controls. A separate action alleges that two other companies owned by Wekerle are on the hook for $32.2 million to the same lender. So the lender here is Wekerle Capital in downtown Toronto, and they're claiming a total, what is that, $87.8 million into Wekerle, Mocambo, and some other properties, I'm going to assume. So Wekerle is a manager for 9 Point Capital, which we will be talking about probably a lot more coming up on this show. And this is private debt funding that flows through. So the way it works is somebody sets up a group like Wekerle, who, by the way, full disclosure, I like these guys a lot. I have a decent relationship with them. And what they do is they act as a funding agent for a fund, somebody that's got a bunch of money, in this case, 9 Point Capital, if that's the right name for them. It's definitely 9 Point, not sure about the capital part. And what Wekerle does, and companies like this do, is they act as they do business. It's a separate company. They do business development. They do underwriting. They do portfolio manager. They find a deal. And then when you actually get the loan documents, it says 9 Point on it. It doesn't say Wekerle, or it says Wekerle acting as agent for 9 Point, right? So that's that's nothing nefarious. That's how all of these, or most of these deals, are structured. And Wekerle, by the way, is a very famous Toronto former trader, banking, financier sort of dude, was on Dragon's Den in Canada. I've never watched that show. Maybe he's still on, for all I know. And I do not know him. Everybody else on Bay Street knows him. Sometimes in Bay Street, Wall Street, Midtown, those kind of scenarios, you kind of come up in the same area and you do your thing and the other person does their thing and your paths never cross. And you think, well, that's weird. That's weird that our paths have never crossed. But I don't know this guy at all. He's affectionately known as the Weck, I believe. But he's the Wekerle guys are going after him with a receivership, according to the Globe and Mail. And at this stage, the lenders considers that the only reasonable, prudent path forward is to take any and all steps necessary to protect the property and monetize same by having a receiver appointed. The company is asking the court to appoint Fuller Landau as receiver. Wekerle said in an interview that no matter what the court decides, he's making an effort to remain at least part owner of the venue. Quote, I'd hate to wash my hands of it and just walk away, end quote. He said, adding that he'd like to remain a minority owner with a 10 to 15% stake, even if he plays no operational role. He goes on to say that he knows nothing about the concert business, notwithstanding that he started that. And the loans were provided through the Canadian Senior Debt Fund, managed by 9 Point Partners. There you go. It wasn't 9 Point Capital, 9 Point Partners in Toronto, which retained Wekerle as a consultant, like I said. According to the fund's offering documents, Wekerle originates and underwrites the transactions for the fund and is responsible for collecting payments. The money owed by Wekerle's company is equivalent to about 1/3 of the value of 9 Point's fund, which manages some $258 million in assets. And it fell 21.7% last year as of November. Some more disclosure here. I own a company that is a smallish borrower from that exact same fund. All right. So if you feel like I know too much about this situation, or that there is I don't know if there's a conflict. I don't feel like I have a conflict in this, but I do have some views, and I just want to disclose that up front so you can treat that as you want to treat it. But these 9 Point, and I should also disclose to you that, I don't know, a year and a half ago, it was not 258 million. It was about 350 million in the fund. And I was approached by some New York financiers, and they said to me, "Hey, Scott, do you think we could buy that 9 Point fund?" And I said, "I don't know." And so we took a look into it, did a deep dive on public information, met some met two representatives of 9 Point, and ultimately sent them a term sheet to pay them 80 cents on the dollar for their fund. And we would have inherited, not we, but the New York guys running the money would have inherited this Wekerle deal, and the 9 Point guys, and that would have been a good exit, a fantastic exit for the mutual fund holders, the retail investors, the mom and pops that put their money into 9 Point. They would have got, at that point, 80% of it back. But nope, we didn't even get a reply to the term sheet after all that discussion and work. And so there you go. So this fund is cratering. It seems to be a mess. And I don't, they've ring fenced it a long time ago, which means you can't redeem from this fund. So it's that fund is a problem, and their interaction with borrowers is a problem. There'll be more conversation from me on that coming up. So what else is on this? The court documents do not detail exactly how Mr. Wekerle's companies came to owe tens of millions of dollars, but the funds relate to the Mocambo and a real estate venture in Waterloo. Lots of mistakes were made, said Wekerle. I don't have the background in music business other than going to shows. So it says here, Wekerle, a flamboyant and heavily tattooed Bay Street trader who later found success on television as a dragon, bought the Mocambo in Toronto 2014 for $3.8 million. And he said he was going to put a couple million in, spruce it up, ended up spending more than $30 million and reservations. And then he was unable to book anybody, is basically what the rest of this article says. So he couldn't get anybody into the venue because, the music business has moved on to larger venues. I don't know what the seating is, but it's nowhere close to what it would be in an arena or a baseball stadium or something where the big names are all playing these days. And so I'm out of time on this, but we will be talking a lot more about this and other 9 Point files, I expect, on this show. So stay tuned on that. Check out the links, please, in the notes. There's one there for the business course and for the coaching. Just hit on that. And there's one on there for the Sinclair Range website and the virtual accounting services. As we talked about yesterday, defense wins championships. Get your books and records right. That's my focus for 2025, is to really hunker down on defense. And that's that. So that was it. Monday, what are we? Mornings with Scott. This has been February 11th, 2025 edition. And we will see you every morning that I possibly can, 8:30 a.m. Mountain. Talk to you tomorrow.